Here we
Welcome back to another episode of the Merge Feast. My name is Blake, back with Logan and Brandon, back on video. Thank you guys for tuning in last week on YouTube for the first time, first time with video. So, welcome back, and yeah, Brandon, kick us off.
Well,
Where are you at?
I love this episode. So we talk about it a lot on the show. We love vulnerability. And I think that tonight's episode was all of that. Kind of my highlights were the conversation from Vula, which we can get into in depth a little bit later if we want to, between Camila and Shaheen and Joe, kind of about their parents. And I think everybody's kind of was impacted by Eva and Joe at the challenge tonight. Joe and Eva's relationship is clearly like super strong. Jeff was moved. We've never seen Jeff cry on the show. So just, an amazing moment. And then Eva, talking about autism not having to be a crutch, but a strength. So just really cool episode, I think.
Yeah, and not to say the same thing, but kind of piggyback off of that, just anytime that we see vulnerability and stuff like Brandon said, I mean, I think it builds that connection with the viewer to the players, and obviously we've seen that connection with Eva and Joe and some of that, but it's just really cool, and I think every season of Survivor, we always have these cool moments and different things that pop up, and that's what I love, and I'm glad that they always have these moments. But overall, just a great episode, and excited to dive into some of the details of those conversations and all.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys, and probably the first place to start was kind of the aftermath of last week's tribal, and I thought it was another perfect way to play the vote with or how everything went down with Kyle and Camila when they got back, and he was like, man, it just seemed like somebody went through my bag, so I got spooked. I decided to just throw a vote this way. I'm so sorry. And made it seem like such a fluke thing, but kind of let them know you didn't get away with looking in my bag, but nobody really realized that they were a pair. And the fact that they were able to pull that off and then come back and it not still be public knowledge was brilliant. Absolute brilliant.
And from that to even turn around to kind of towards the end of this episode, you see all of the remaining 4 of that tribe come together and almost have a bonding moment, obviously after that conversation about parents and all, but from them to end that way and be able to kind of incorporate everybody and have them all together was really cool to see. And if all 4 of them can make it to the merge, which scenes from next episode show that, but I mean, they could be a solid force.
Yeah, and that's what a tribe like that needed, right? Is to kind of get knocked down a peg and then have a difficult vote out and then come back even stronger and have this bonding moment where now it's not just, oh, we all want to win. It's now we all have this connection and we've got this relationship beyond the game. And that's what's been so amazing about Survivor for so many years, is that it's not just the game. It's real life merging with the game. And now it's like, okay, if they went to Tribal this week, they would have had to vote somebody out and crush their dreams, and knowing all the struggles that their families have gone through. And it makes it that much harder to vote somebody out, which just complicates the game even more, which I absolutely love. I think the more of that stuff we get to see, the better.
Yeah, I think this episode of Survivor was like a reminder. You know, there's the obvious reasons why we love Survivor, the blind sides, the challenges, the strategy, but being able to kind of humanize the game and the people and remind us that they're people too that all come from different walks of life. They all have something going on back home that they're having to bring into the game, and you know, it's used as motivation, as we saw tonight, or, you know, perspective. How, you know, this is the hardest thing I've ever done, but nothing will ever be harder than what my parents had to endure in the Civil War in Sri Lanka, or, you know, refugees from Iran, and Joe's parents that are interracial, that have a picture of them at a fountain that's, you know, back from the 40s and 50s in segregation. And it's a cool reminder that, like, we're just people that are playing a game, but it's real.
Yeah.
Real, you don't know what other people are going through in life, past to present. I mean, everybody's going through something and it's had a story, and we've all been on a journey, and to see those all kind of merge and be able to share that's really cool.
Yeah, and I think with as divisive as just culture in general is right now, with everything, you have to be one extreme or the other. And I've seen that a little bit, you know, on Twitter. People either love this season or hate this season, but it kind of brings it back down to, these are not just people on TV. Like, I don't know, it's real life, but you're still playing a game, but it's more than just the game. You can't separate it. And I don't know, I just love it.
Yeah, no, I think, I mean, just kind of, since we're on the subject of human and vulnerability, I think I would want to talk about post-immunity challenge, Eva and Joe, because, you know, I managed not to cry.
Got me.
Yeah, like, could feel it coming, but didn't happen. But I was just kind of, you know, watching. Obviously, Eva is struggling with this challenge, and the way, like, Survivor does such a good job of telling a story, of having Eva and then Joe in the background of the shot, and them just keep showing him watching and wanting to go and help her and talk with her. I didn't actually know that the tribes couldn't intermingle at the challenge. I didn't know that was a rule until tonight. But Eva having one of her, you know, having an episode, and, you know, her trusting Joe 10 days ago that, hey, I have autism, here's some things that happen, you know, grab my hands, talk to me, and him being able to put that into action tonight, and, you know, it work, and you see that they have this bond that is clearly beyond the game. Like, one of the best probably 5 minutes in Survivor history, I think.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
it's not often.
And then to hear his reason why, like when Jeff asked, like, why did you do that? You know, because it could put a huge target on your back. And I think in some ways it did, but his answer of, like, my kids are going to watch this, and I want to be the man that I want my kids to be. And I want to treat this person how I would want somebody to treat my daughter. And it's like, man, you're not just talking it, but you're walking it. And I don't know, I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, and with him and all of that, I mean, it just shows the real life side of things to some people are more important, and to Joe obviously is very important, and I think that shows who he is as a person, but also for him to be able to do that for Eva, and like Jeff said, potentially blow his game up, but for him to just put the game aside and say, this person, this other human needs my help in this situation, and to be able just to give everything else up and say, absolutely, like, it just puts a lot of respect out there for Joe, for sure.
And if you noticed, he didn't wait until she was freaking out. when she started to get frustrated with doing the puzzle and moving the ball, he kept kind of saying, "Hey, you've got this.
You got this,
You got
sis."
this."
Yep.
Yeah. And like you can just tell by the way he looks at her, like, I am looking out for her even if I can't do anything, whether it's a word of encouragement or just trying to pay attention to what's going on for her. And I love it. That you don't find that sort of a bond or an alliance that's that tight that often, and I love it.
Yeah.
And then to hear Jeff say, like, hey, you guys could blindside each other, and they both kind of laugh, like, yeah, that could definitely happen. Like, part of me is kind of hopes that happens at Final Five, like, because it would just, I don't know, it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sad, but cool.
Yeah. And I don't know. There's a first time for everything. You think you've seen it all in Survivor, and now we got Jeff crying and being moved. Because I feel like there's a lot of moments where Jeff has to kind of step back and, be impartial, and he's so good at that. Like, he's a great host, and like that again, like, not that Jeff's a robot, but again, humanizing somebody that we've seen as just kind of this rock solid dude that is like, oh, that was like real. So
Yeah. And then to have the thought of like, okay, these are the rules, the tribes can't intermingle, but just the wherewithal to realize like, hey, this is a moment that needs to be talked about, and let's change it up, like right in the moment, and not like, looking back, I probably should have done this. Like, he always seems to make the right calls on that, and then kind of open it up for conversation and discussion in such a like easy, respectful manner, where, because she could have very easily said, I'm not comfortable talking about it, and he would have said, that's totally fine. I don't know. He always seems to handle that with such so tactfully, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, the way he words the
Tactfully is the
question.
of the day.
I mean, it's inviting to be able to talk. I mean, he asks the correct questions, open-ended, being able to let the people respond. And if, like you said, if she didn't want to respond, he would have respected it and kind of moved on. But it was really cool for that moment, like you said, not just to give them that moment to connect, but for them to talk about it afterwards and give Eva the platform to talk about what's going on.
Well, I don't know how to transition out of that. You just call it there.
And that's a wrap.
No, I like it. I guess, and we kind of talked about this before we went live on this, but we did get some mail, and I think this is probably part of the question in there. It's probably a good time to talk about that. So, Brandon, if you want to read the question and who it's from.
Sure. It's our weekly email from Jim, Logan and Blake's dad. Think he watched the show live tonight or close to live. But here we go. The first thing I would do back at camp would be to wash the sand off. How about you? So for Eva and Joe, do you think tonight helped or put a big target on them? So, Logan, kick us off there.
First off, the sand, I thought the same thing. I think it was Mitch at one point. They were talking back at camp, and he just had sand all on the side of his face. And it's just like, how do you not feel that and rub it? I don't know.
So was that after the immunity challenge or the reward challenge?
I don't remember.
The only reason I asked is I feel like we looked this up, or we had some kind of insight from a former player where they went on reward and they were caked in mud and they weren't allowed to wash off before that. So I don't know if there's a similar kind of situation there, but yeah.
Yeah, and I don't remember if that was because of a time crunch thing or if it was just, hey, we're just going straight here and getting after it. I don't remember, but I did remember seeing something about that, so that would make sense.
Gotcha.
I mean, we've talked about that so many times, right? It's like just from, I mean, I keep thinking about Sue. Just never seem to get clean, but
Yeah.
that would be, I don't know, maybe not living out on the island. It's like, whatever, I'm just going to be dirty, but I would think I would wash the sand off. I would think at some point it would be uncomfortable too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, with Eva and Joe, I think it definitely puts a target on their back. I think anytime that you see two people have a strong connection, that's always a raise of concern and puts a target on their back. To see what extent, I think obviously after the merge and seeing them together, I think is going to be the biggest tell. But I don't think it necessarily blew their game up, but I definitely think it didn't necessarily help their game in a positive way. But I don't know. I think we'll have to see after the merge and see kind of how that all happens, because a power duo is never if it's publicly known, is always a target.
Yeah, I'm curious to see when it switches over to being a target put on their back. Because right now it didn't seem like that was the case at all, and it helped that both of their tribes won immunity this week. But the other cool moment there, and I think this will speak to it a little bit, is what happened with Star and Eva, and just how she was like, I've got family members on the spectrum, and it totally changed Star's opinion of Eva, because if you remember a couple weeks ago, they were kind of going at each other, didn't really get along, tried to work together, not having it, and then it got to where it's like, hey, we're cool now, and I'm with you. All the way to the point of like Star giving her the immunity idol.
Do you think that Star got a little high on life there and was just like still kind of, up from the moment at the challenge and might grow to regret that?
I don't know, possibly. Or thinking like, I don't want to be the bad guy. Like, she opened it up. I asked for help, and is she going to assume that because she opened it, it was hers? Because Eva didn't seem to just here and give it back to Star. She kind of held on to it and was celebrating. And I wonder if Star thought like, oh, can't be the bad guy and take it from her. So let me extend an olive branch, and here's a massive amount of trust and hope to earn an ally.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think Star probably gained an ally. I know when it gets to merge, things kind of get lost in the shuffle, but I think, if we want to talk about things that might put a target on somebody's back, it's 6 people now know that Eva has an idol because it was done in front of everybody. So
It's true.
maybe that was part of Star's plan, was, hey, I couldn't figure this out myself. I needed everybody's help. And they know that I have it. I don't want them to, some people see advantages as disadvantages. Maybe that was her thought process there, is it's already out in the open anyway. Might as well put it in somebody else's pocket and, let them deal with whatever comes their way.
Yeah.
I don't know. At some point, though, I think it'll definitely come back to bite them. Whether or not they can overcome it, we'll find out. But I think at some point, and probably when the merge happens, some people are gonna come together and say, "Man, that was really cool," but we've got to get them out. So, and that'll probably happen sooner rather than later.
For sure. I was shocked. Was like, what? You're just going to give it to her? And, I mean, we'll see how it works out,
Yeah.
but that was
wild.
Not expecting it.
Yeah.
No. I'm trying to think. I know people have given idols and advantages away, but Star had to have been trying to do that for 10 days or 9 days, whatever day it is, unsuccessfully, and to finally ask for help. Honestly, if she would have asked for help, or I guess she asked for help between Thomas and Shaheen, but I think if she would have done that sooner, she, would still have an idol in her pocket.
Yeah. For sure. But everything's going to get so mixed up next week with the potential merge, and I mean, we don't know exactly what that'll look like, if they're going to, have two separate tribal councils, or, I mean, who knows? But if you start thinking about it with, and I'm still trying to remember who's on what team. Was it Vula? So they were talking about how they would be the voting block, and they would be like kind of a core four. Well, you've got to start thinking from them, like, hey, Joe's got this connection with Eva. She's going to share. I mean, it's going to get out that she's got an idol. Like, okay, they bring her in. If Star is still close with the rest of the original Logie members, it's like they could turn around and run the rest of the season fairly easily. And it's probably not going to go that direction, but you've got, you go from a core 4 to a pretty tight 7 pretty easily. So I'll be curious to see how it all shakes up.
Yeah, and we've got 13 players left, I believe. So,
Yeah.
You get to that 7 and you get majority there.
It's massive.
Absolutely. What I think it was at the reward challenge. I don't remember who it was, if it was Mitch, when they, who was the guy that threw the ball down on the trampoline?
Cedric.
Yeah, that's right. And Jeff said, abysmal failure.
Abysmal failure.
And Cedric said, thanks, Jeff.
I don't even know.
I was
He
cracking
just
up
hit
at
it
what
off
Jeff
the post,
said,
right?
even before that. But yeah, it looked like he had bounced it off of just the post.
So funny.
Did you guys catch what Jeff said about the balls dropping out of the thing?
Wait, no, what'd he say?
He said, like, whenever you throw and hit it, it spins the thing around, and then your balls drop down, and just like in Survivor, when your balls drop down, you're on to the next stage. It was just like, okay.
I do want to talk about the reward challenge right after the challenge between Mary and Say. So Mary was like super excited about winning reward, ham and cheese croissants, donuts, whatever. But she's like, yeah, this is great. We still have half of our fruit from yesterday. And Say took exception to that. You could be, I made a reference to you saying tactful earlier. We could be a little more tactful about how we go about things. And I personally, I think Say just takes exception to most things. I mean, even in the immunity challenge, Jeff, hey, the pressure's on. Say, I'm not feeling pressure. Jeff, you should. I think she just feels the need to respond to a lot of things, and it didn't really go well with anybody. You saw Siva, I don't know. You saw Mary's tribe at the reward challenge, kind of like, what was that? Even some of Say's tribe members were like, you can have your opinion. I think Mitch said it. You can have your opinion, but, sometimes you just got to let some things go. And my big kind of takeaway from Say this episode was, I think she's playing a good game. I think she's not doing a great job at relationships.
I would agree with that. I think, obviously, the relationship with her and Cedric has been bumpy and rocky, and some of that. But outside of that, I feel like the times that she does have conversations with people and all, just the way she talks to people, I think, is almost a little weird and put offish in a way. And even just speaking up like she did at the challenge and talking to another player contestant, I think lets people see how you are, and being so close to the merge, I think that puts a target on your back. Nobody's going to want to work with that, or in a way have to work with that, because I mean that it's not fun. I mean, I don't know.
See, and I would. I mean, I guess you could argue that she's playing a good game because she's surviving, but I would say she's probably. I guess I would argue she's probably playing the weakest game from what I see, because of the lack of relationships, and everybody seems annoyed. The problem that I see her getting herself into, though, may be a good thing, is it may get to a point where people are going to say, hey, we don't really like this person. Nobody really wants to vote for her. Let's just take her with us. And she may make it really, really far because she doesn't get along with people. Now, can she win with that? We'll see.
I mean, if Russell Hantz couldn't win Survivor Samoa and Survivor Heroes versus Villains doing what he did, I mean, what was lacking in his game? The social aspect of it. And so if it didn't work 15 years ago, it's not working today.
Yeah. Well, and I guess we can get into the vote now, but I was really surprised the vote went the way that it did, for a handful of reasons, but even just between Chrissy and Say, and that moment where, was it the reward challenge that she set out?
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I've competed in every challenge. I deserve a break. And then she came back to camp and ate more fruit than anybody and just rubbed everybody the wrong way. And Chrissy was like, wait a second, I've competed in every challenge too. And I think what Say was probably suggesting was like, I have lost everything, and I am just tired of losing. I need a break. But the way she went about explaining that just seemed to it definitely rubbed me the wrong way. Like, what do you mean you deserve a break? You don't, like, you're in Survivor. Why are you don't deserve it any more than anybody else. So, I don't know. Just kind of, I didn't love it. But she may get far because of it. So, I don't know.
Yeah. I think with, with the votes. Sorry, I lost my train of thought completely. I don't know where it went. It's over there. I think you make a great point with Say, and like she, at this point, it's not even merge, and she has potentially already kind of dug herself a grave where I don't know if she's necessarily GOAT status, or we just drag somebody along because like they have no chance of winning, because I think she's made an impact in the game. But I do think, rocky relationship with Cedric, rocky relationship with Mary, rocky relationship with Chrissy, who you barely have met, making a kind of a jerk out of yourself in front of everybody at a reward challenge. I do think that, she'll have trouble speaking to that if, she should get to final three. And, I really never thought of it until you said it. Like, she might be a candidate for that. Like, let's just bring her. We want to get rid of her, but let's just bring her.
Yeah.
I honestly hadn't even really thought about that either. And if it continues the way it is, I could definitely see that being the case. But I do think she, like Brandon said, she's obviously made an impact on the game this far. She's playing the game. Whether she can hone in on that social side post-merge and grow that side of the game, and maybe we'll see a different kind of second half of the season with her. But it'll definitely be interesting to see, because it obviously is going to go one of couple ways, but it's, I don't know, it'll be interesting.
Yeah. I think when I think about Say's game, and I've said this in prior seasons, I think there's phases of the game, obviously pre-merge, post-merge. And I think that those games are played two different ways. Played, pre-merge is very team-oriented. Post-merge can be team-oriented too, but you're playing for your own survival at that point. And I think Sei might have come in a little bit ahead of herself and was doing a lot of self-preservation when she didn't really need to. I think having a better focus on Vula and the tribe's well-being and success, and not having infighting with Mary when you should have been coming together. And I know that that's probably easier said than done when you're just losing. That probably kind of changes your mindset a little bit. But I just think, if she would have had a more, we mindset instead of me mindset, then she might be at a different spot today.
For sure.
Absolutely.
100%. So, as far as the votes, Bianca didn't have a vote, and there right before Tribal, she told Cedric, and that seemed to be the shift. But
Cedric,
can
you don't tell him you don't have a vote. You do tell him you do have a vote. It doesn't matter. Justin, Bianca.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts on the fact that he brought in Chrissy and not Mitch and not Sei. Like, why? Because he seemed to be closer with Sei. But if he was going to go with Chrissy, why not bring in Mitch as well? But, I mean, I can, try to justify it a handful of different ways, but I'm just curious your thoughts on, was it just they were that short on time and that was the only opportunity he had to tell?
I think I think before Bianca said that, I think he was like, yeah, I'm voting Sei out. And I think that was what was going to happen. I know, Cedric and Chrissy had kind of had conversations throughout the day. Maybe something clicked there where, he was, I can gain an ally in Chrissy because he doesn't really have one. He doesn't really have Sei. But I was surprised Chrissy flipped because I think, that hurts her game in a way because she had Mitch. Like, her and Mitch seemed like, a duo. And now she has to go back and explain her actions to Mitch and even Sei by voting out somebody that wasn't necessarily a threat and could have been somebody that you used down the line if you're Cedric. So it just didn't really make a lot of sense to me. And I'm having trouble kind of honing in what Cedric's game plan is. But definitely, I don't know the last time I've been genuinely surprised by the result of a vote. But tonight, I out loud, I'm like, are you kidding me? I just didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, whenever I thought about it, I think the situation with Cedric and Sei obviously isn't great. And I think Cedric even said at one point tonight that he knows that he doesn't have Sei's full trust. And so I think him putting her name down a couple times, obviously, he knows that relationship is and that alliance is broken. And so to have another alliance to build that trust, talking to Christy, the reason he didn't talk to Mitch, I'm chalking it up to they really just didn't have time because it looked like Bianca actually told Cedric at the very last minute. But I mean, we'll never know that. And so I think it was more just a play of going forward. He knew the relationship with Sei was broken and wasn't probably going to be able to continue much farther past that to build something else up going into potential merge or whatever the case may be.
And I don't disagree with that, but why not vote her out?
Yeah, I don't know. And that's where I don't think it makes sense. I think he should have voted her out and kept Bianca, because that, like Brandon said, is another number for him down the road. I I don't make sense of it outside of that. I really don't.
It may have been a brilliant gameplay by him, and I think time will tell. I don't think him and Say's relationship is going to necessarily be rebuilt. They're both going to question each other forever. He may have definitely earned some trust with Chrissy and created some cracks in between Chrissy and Mitch. And then he can, plausible deniability as far as, man, Mitch, we were going to tell you, but we just didn't have time. But then spin it to Mitch as like, she didn't want to loop you in. And I don't know, he could be playing very, very well. I just don't see that level of gameplay from him yet, but it could come back to really help. So I don't know. We'll see how it all shakes up.
Yeah. Either Cedric is a genius or he has no idea what he's doing. Because he's had a lot of power and a lot of votes. Like, just going back to the deadlock between Say and Justin, voted Say twice and then flipped it to Say, or to Justin. And then tonight, Bianca, who again, wasn't really a threat to you, could have used her later on as a number, tries to extend some information to you. And, information is currency, knowledge is power. And just it didn't make sense. But I am curious what your guys' thoughts, and I know we'll see it in an exit interview tomorrow or Friday on some other shows with Bianca. But what do you think her mindset was going and telling Cedric, and why Cedric? Hey, I don't have a vote.
For me, I think Bianca being on that tribe and not having anybody else being the only one from a different tribe trying to build that trust. I don't know why last minute right before tribal, because it didn't seem like she was even a talk of a vote being thrown her way at any point outside of Jeff obviously bringing up that she's the only one and this and that. But throughout the entire episode, it wasn't ever a conversation of, hey, maybe Bianca. I just don't know what. I like Blake said, and you said, knowledge is power, and power is what you want, and building those relationships. So I really think it was a strategic and trying to build that relationship in a tribe where she didn't have a ton of other options. But I don't know.
I think it was a desperate move because she was hyper focused on people not finding out that she didn't have a vote. And if Cedric voted for Say and everybody else voted for Say, Jeff would have read 3 votes and that would have been enough. Or 4 votes, and nobody would have known that she didn't have a vote. And it appeared to me that she just got hyper fixated on, nobody can know that I don't have a vote, and the only way I can guarantee this is if Cedric votes with us and votes out Say. So I almost seemed like a desperate plea, but pitched it in a way of hey, I really want to build trust with you, but I really need you to vote Say out because I don't have a vote. That's the only way it's going to happen. And he's like, hold on a second. You've been playing me the whole time. I don't know that I want to do this. I'm going to make my own move, even though I don't think it was the best move to make. I honestly think she was just hyper fixated on people not finding out she didn't have a vote.
Yeah. It's so weird though, unless I missed something, it felt pretty obvious to me before that it was going to be Say. At least 3 votes were going to Say.
Cedric still seemed up in the air to me. He kind of led everybody to believe that that's what was going to happen. But I
Before,
I almost got the sense of like he wasn't sure what he was going to do.
and was the other name Bianca before that?
No, because Say was talking about Chrissy.
Chrissy. Okay, so it was.
So it was Chrissy or Say. And so if he's thinking, man, if all three of them are voting Say, I don't know. It none of it really makes sense, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, and man, Bianca just needed to do some math and realize that the merge was likely right around the corner. Just lay low,
Yep.
get through this vote, and then hopefully reunite with her old tribe. And, unfortunately goes the way of Thomas. So,
Well, and Thomas was also her number one. There was that confessional where she was talking about that, and I wonder if that was just in the back of her mind on like, I have to survive. I have to survive, and I can't let anybody know that I'm weak in this area. And then just fumbling.
yep,
Yeah.
tough. But, it makes for good TV. Like, I was, like I said, like, oh, Say's going home. And Survivor surprised us again.
And good for Bianca because she played all the way up until the end. I mean, all the way up until the last minute of Tribal Council, she was playing the game. So good for her, and obviously not the outcome she wanted, but good play for everybody.
Yeah. I should have known. All of a sudden, somebody that's kind of had very little screen time just gets a ton of screen time. No, it's their demise.
So what does that say about Say? Because she's had by far the most screen time.
Well,
Like, hasn't she set a record?
she did in the opening episode, but when you have somebody like Say who like is interesting and like has good sound bites, good confessionals, and is just like somebody that you actually want to watch, like they're gonna get more screen time.
Yeah.
So there is that.
Yeah, because I think she beat out, was it Banu?
I don't 100% remember, but yeah, she set a record. I think it was for. Yeah, I'm not gonna try to say because I don't remember.
It was a lot. It was a lot. It was substantially
Yeah.
more than most everybody else.
Yeah,
so.
I think it was for one episode she had like 21 confessionals, which like I think the record for a season for confessionals is like 90 something, and that might have been set by Sam last season.
Holy.
Now, granted, 90-minute episodes, so a
For
lot
sure.
of records and like big numbers are going to be seen. But yeah, like not that there's not a lot of other interesting people, but I think Say, like Thomas is gone. Thomas was a good narrator as well, so I think you're going to see, as long as Say's in the game, you're going to see more of Say. And I think that's a good thing. Like I think she's good for the season. I just don't really see her winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, every season has those controversial players and gets people talking. And yeah, no, I don't disagree. The only other thing that I have is Survivor of the Week. So unless you guys have anything else, I say we hop into that.
Nope, that's all I got.
Brandon, kick us off.
Oh, gosh. I'm actually still somewhat undecided. I feel like I am probably just going to go like, and I think we might have joked about this on the premiere episode. But can we have a Survivor of the Week? Is that allowed? Because I think like I always look at Survivor of the Week as like, the kind of the highlight for me. And I feel like, for me it's Joe/Eva, and I'll go Eva. Because I obviously don't know what she was going through, but you could tell during the immunity challenge when she, was not able to do it, that her head was spinning and she's getting more and more frustrated, and kind of going into her episode, as she says, and is able to still like hold it together long enough to win the challenge and avoid tribal council. And then like Joe as well, for, Joe just like clearly a cool dude, good dude, great dude. We've said that multiple times this season, but I don't know if I broke the rules of Survivor of the Week, but
Yeah.
I'll allow
if
it.
if you go Eva, I'm going Joe. So I'll cover your base. But yeah, I mean, the moment of him helping calm her down and just seemed like they stepped outside of the game for a moment, and I don't know. I just everything he does seems to be for the right reason, and just seems to be a genuinely good person. I don't know. It was like, what's his name from last season? Was it Saul?
Mm-hmm.
Where he was just getting like picked on and belittled, and he always seemed to handle it with tact and grace, and just handled everything really, really well. And Joe kind of getting that same vibe, a little bit of a different level, but just I don't know. I liked it.
I was gonna go with Eva. I think obviously the moment we've talked about it, but I also think later in the episode with her figuring out the puzzle of the word and getting the immunity or the like hidden idol and all of that, just everything in this episode kind of pointed towards her for me. So great episode for her. Definitely excited to see her and Joe reunite, if depending on how the merge actually happens, but definitely going with Eva this week.
I like it. Well, Dad, thank you for emailing in. I hope to have another email from you next week. If anybody else wants to email us some questions, Brandon, what is our email address?
yeah, email us at themergefeastpodcast@gmail.com, and we will read your question, or leave a comment on our YouTube channel. We'll check there as well. And while you're there on the YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe to our channel and like this video. Also check us out at Merge Feast Pod on Twitter, and at The Merge Feast on Instagram and TikTok. Yes, we are everywhere now, or with the times. We are posting daily on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Look for those reels and shorts. Yeah, give us a follow on those. Interact with us.
I like it. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. We will see you next week. And go ahead and say goodbye, Logan.
Goodbye, Logan.